Hey guys, here we are, the end of the second quarter of 2022. Can you believe it? So here's our special episode. I'm going to bring on Jennifer Flynn, the Balance Maven. We're going to be reviewing what we should have been working on the last quarter, what we laid out a nice foundation for you. We're going to continue on that series, reviewing that, and give you some steps forward for the quarter to come. So without further ado, enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today, we are ending yet another quarter. Damn. 2022 is flying. Jesus Christ. Anywho, I don't mean to scare anybody, but it's the end of the second quarter. What have you done for your business? Have you been implementing the stuff we've been teaching you on this podcast? Have you been making a lot of networking events, whether it be virtual or in person? Some people are doing in-person stuff. Whatever that is, what are you doing? So I'm talking about what you're doing. I want to reintroduce you to my good friend Jen Flynn so we can continue our series of business check review on the end of each quarter. Jen, welcome to the show again.
Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for doing this. I mean, this is like free advice for my audience. You guys better be thankful for this, because this is free advice from none other than the GOAT, as I call her. But anywho, so let's recap what we talked about towards the end of last quarter. Can you refresh our listeners' memory of what we talked about the last quarter?
Absolutely. So we talked about the 9 elements of my intuitive business atlas. And these are 9 elements to have a healthy, happy business, which hopefully translates to a healthy, happy you. And I'll recap what those 9 elements are in case we've got new listeners that didn't get last quarter, but you can always refer to that episode and catch the recap where we unpacked the first 2 elements of the 9. And today we're going to unpack 2 more. Each quarter we'll unpack 2 of the 9 elements. The 9th element being mentorship, which often speaks for itself. It's a really important thing in a business to have mentorship of some capacity. The fact that you're here and you're listening tells us that you value mentorship and growth and expert guidance. But I'm going to give a little recap of what those 9 elements are for our newer listeners. And you can go back and listen to the last quarter episode at the end of March for the first 2 elements. And today we're going to unpack.
I'll drop the link to that episode on the show notes, by the way.
Perfect. There's also a toolkit that we've included today and in that previous episode as well. But the 9 elements are in I have these in an order, but they don't have to be in an order. As we talked about in the previous episode, sometimes we take this line and we fold it into a circle and we go around it like a wheel, and we meet you wherever you are with whatever area of your business you're struggling in, and we take you all the way around the wheel. But to have a healthy business, all 9 of these elements get met or get addressed. So element number 1 is mindset. And number 2, mission. Number 3, marketing. 4, money conversations. 5, mechanisms and means. 6, momentum. 7, monetization. 8, measuring. and 9 mentorship. So in the last episode, we covered mindset and mission and how mission critical and important those are. And today we're going to talk about marketing and money conversations.
It's my favorite, two of my favorite topics, mindset and money conversations. Full disclosure, Jen, before I met you, I had a hard time with money conversations. But anyway, you helped me unclog that issue. So thank you very much. That was kind of our
kickoff. That was our kickoff subject, really, in our business partnership and our friendship. Really, it was the thing that brought us together.
It brought this business relationship together, and I'm glad it did. But I had a hard time with that, so I'm kind of curious about that. But my favorite topic is definitely marketing. As you know, I'm the local business guy. I love talking about marketing. So let's talk about that. What do you have in store for us in terms of what is marketing in Jennifer Flynn's world?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to complement things in Frankie D's world too. I'm going to talk about it probably a little broader perspective than you might talk to your listeners about it. But I think that these two things go really hand in hand with how you serve in the digital marketing component. But I'm going to talk about two aspects of marketing today. So marketing being our third element in the Intuitive Business Atlas. It's obviously one of the biggest parts of your business because it's what allows you to be seen and be visible and to bring traffic to the table. And, there's a couple of components to it, but the first thing I want to kind of just light overview in marketing, what it means to me is your brand identity. And really, taking from our previous element where we talked about mission and vision, values, purpose. This is really, brand identity really draws from that element, and it ensures that everything about you and your organization really reflects those ideals. And your brand identity, it's really important to know what your mission is in order to really spotlight your brand or to create a message around your brand that when people see you, find you, experience you, they get to create a feeling. We want them to kind of hit some sort of vibe that lets them be able to tune in, kind of like a radio station. And you think about a radio station coming in really clear. And if you really enjoy the music that's being played on it, you stay tuned in. But if that station is staticky or you're kind of between the stations and you can't hear it clearly, then you're going to be adjusting the dial and going somewhere else. So brand identity is something that we want it to reflect our mission and our vision and be kind of a calling card so that when people experience it, they can match that frequency and they can feel like, wow, this really speaks to me. And I would say a big part of brand identity really comes down to clarity of message and making sure that your marketing is bringing you the people that you're most meant to serve and not bringing people that are going to create conflict or disruption to you, your community, your efforts, any of the things that you're trying to do. People are going to constantly put you. Go ahead.
That's so funny because I was thinking, you said so many things that brought back some good and bad memories. But
right.
But because and I guess this goes back to mindset, and I know we talked about that in the last quarter. But in my mind, back in the day, I didn't need brand identity. I just need to know how to market. I just need to put my message in front of people, and that's it. And I didn't know the importance of brand identity. So this is awesome.
Well, that I love what you said there. And I think here's the thing that I kind of look at brand identity as. It's not just to attract the clients, right? It's also like a moat. So if you think about a castle with a moat around it, the clarity of message isn't just about attracting the right fit people, but it's also about repelling the people you don't want. Yeah. It's about getting people to realize this isn't for me so that they don't waste your time. They don't pollute your community. They don't cloud your mission and vision. And I kind of put that in the, no jerks policy. There's certain people that I don't ever want to work with. And part of my brand identity is designed to repel a certain kind of person. So I'll give an example. I work with people who have some nature of connection with some sort of spiritual force, whether it's God, source, energy, the universe, whatever. If you absolutely hate everything about that, when you go to my brand messaging and you go to my website, you're going to be turned off by that. You're going to be like, what a kook, or whatever it is. You're not going to feel aligned. And then nobody has to waste anybody's time. And it's not, just about them, but it's also about you. And it's about the right people. We want people that work with us to see themselves in our message. We want them to see themselves in everything they find out about you. They need to be able to feel like they know who they are through you. What we need to be able to illustrate to them that we know what makes them tick, what they need, even when they themselves may not know what they need until they've encountered your message. And we want them to have kind of this lock-in experience where they're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need. Or like, he's my person. He totally gets me. We want them to put their hand up and say, hey, that's me, and feel pulled in. So to me, that's kind of what brand identity is really about. And it lets you, the digital marketer, do your job better when there's clarity of message.
Yeah. It's so funny. I had a funny story about that, Jen, if I could just share it with you. I had a hard time with that because I figured I wanted to talk to everybody. And I'm a huge advocate of coaching. And this other coach told me, okay, so let's write this message. And he wrote this message out. He says, let's pretend you're a restaurant. Okay. And I said, okay. So he's writing this message out and he's elaborating every single thing about this restaurant, about the ambiance, about the staff, about the location, about how they've received top grades from like some of the huge publications, et cetera, et cetera. And he goes, so imagine if this person walks in and then they turn around and walk out. And then another person walks in and turn around and walk out. And the reason they're walking out is you built this restaurant and you've built your messaging around, about, everything else except for what it is. You're a steakhouse. These folks are vegetarian, but you brought them to the door because your marketing was so great. Your messaging was awesome. It got them to the door, but I'm a vegetarian. I can't eat this stuff.
Right.
So when he said that, it's like a light bulb turned on. And I'm like, oh. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that.
I think that's so true. And also one of the things I'll point out of what I kind of heard you saying too was it was a lot of features. Like we got this award, we got this, we got that, we got this. And it was kind of like credibility status type things. But we failed to mention the experience people were going to have when they came to our establishment, which may have then illuminated the fact it's not for vegetarians and vegans. It's for carnivores.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wish I had the actual thing. I have it somewhere here, but one of these days I'll share it with you, Jen, so you could laugh and have a chuckle. I still have it because I always want to remember it. Yeah.
I'd love to use it as an example too. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I think that really illustrates the point beautifully, like clarity of message. Like, who is it that you're trying to attract? What experience are you trying to create? And really letting people have an opportunity to put their hand up and say, oh my gosh, yeah, that's me. And I think, while marketing has a lot of parts, if we're going to kind of generalize this and, keep it kind of high level, I think there's two parts within the idea of brand identity and marketing that I tend to talk to people most about. And it's internal versus external marketing. And one of these, it would be easy to say, well, I don't really feel like that applies to me as much. And I think they both apply to all of us in a lot of respects. And
Okay. So
So I
explain
think
that.
about so so internal versus external marketing. So a big part of running a business and having a business, whether you're the party of one or you have an entire team, I believe is company culture and leadership. So I'm going to talk a little bit about internal marketing first, because I think external marketing is a little bit more self-explanatory, and I think it's a lot of what you do, and we'll talk about it too. But internal marketing, I want to illustrate this one a little bit more, because it isn't just about whether you're world domination, big team, or the party of one. How you do anything is how you do everything, and it's really important for you to consider, what is your company culture. If you're outsourcing any part of your work to independent contractors or freelancers, this would still apply to you, because those people are doing your work. They need to be aligned with your message, your marketing, your role in that space that you're serving. And I like to point out that also a big part of internal marketing is referrals. And now some people will tell you that's external marketing, tit for tat, tomato, tomato. We can certainly put it in both camps. But the reason that I refer to it as internal marketing is we're talking to people who've already said yes to you. They're already working with you. They already know, like, and trust you. They are an unpaid sales force waiting to be tapped. So when we've served them and they've become really aligned with our message and our core values and the experience, we want to ask them to talk about it. We want them to be an extension of your team in a lot of ways. So I feel like it's more internal marketing. It's also something that doesn't necessarily cost us money to bring that message to the table. Where those folks are concerned, we've already capitalized on the financial investment of bringing them to the table. They're going to go out and continue those conversations. So it's kind of that law of 250, where, every person you serve, they know 250 people. And if they're actively talking about you, for every person they talk to, that person knows 250 people. And if they come in, then, that's brought in from a kind of an internal space. So you could put it in external or internal, but I list it as an internal component, because once you get a follower, we want all of those people talking about what you do to everyone they know. You want to nurture those folks, and we don't nurture them with our external marketing message. We nurture them internally, with our attention and with our praise and with our gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And, as far as company, go ahead.
No, I just said it's interesting.
Yeah. And so taking that back to company culture, it's, once we brought people into our fold and they become hopefully ride or die fans, no matter what you do in the world, the people that you've served, if they're happy, we want them to tell other people. And we create a culture within our company of not only how we treat the people that work with us, but how we treat the people that we serve. And then we ask them to take that experience out into the world. This is also true for, when you're serving, or when you've got people on your team, if they're employees or if they're independent contractors, it doesn't matter. You have a leadership culture in your company that we want those people to have ownership and buy-in. We want them talking to their people. We want them feeling aligned with your message in a way that they feel like they're an extension of it and they take some ownership and some pride in it. So there's a lot, I think, in terms of internal marketing that people don't tend to talk about.
I've never heard of any of this, to be honest with you. I'm sitting here like, whoa, okay, cool.
It's marketing, but it's internal marketing. It's not the money we're paying to get costs per clicks or get in front of people. It's the things we're doing internally to be aligned with our brand identity, to be aligned with our mission, to be aligned with our mindset, to be aligned with our values. And it's why I kind of have these things in this order. And I talk about internal marketing first before we talk about external marketing. Because if you think about what's going on under the surface of your company, and if your employees are happy and they feel well taken care of and they feel aligned with your message then everything they touch that's going out into your external marketing world has its best start. But if we don't address it internally and recognize the internal marketing nature of our company, then you start to have this fragmented energy and this fragmented breakdown of your message internally. And if it's broken down internally, what do you think's happening externally? What do you think's happening when they answer the phone? We have all had that experience where we know a business owner and we know what they do and they have an amazing business, and the person who answers their phone sucks and breaks down all of that external marketing that you've done to bring a lead to the table. They ruin it in 25 seconds.
You know, it's funny.
I know you have an example of this because I can think of it.
I have a client of mine. Well, I'm not. I know who you're thinking about. This is someone you don't know. But I have a client of mine that, we do call rail and we record the calls that are coming through, unless they're an attorney. When they're attorneys, we don't do that. But anyway, this person is he's a handyman, and he's got an answering service to answer all the calls. So it's just a team of him and a few people. And I'll never forget, like, he was like, man, I'm not getting anyone to really convert here. So I'm like, let's listen to these calls. And I kid you not, this professional, and I'm putting air quotes here, professional answering service answered the call. The phone's like, yeah. That's how they answered it.
On my face right now, but I'm just like horrified.
That's how they answer it. Yeah. Who's this? And then like, hey, is this blank, blank, blank company? Yes. How can I help you? And I was like, holy.
Think about the marketing dollars you just flushed down.
X amount of dollars.
You just burnt money. Lighting dollar bills on fire.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't figure
internal marketing.
When someone filled out the form as opposed to calling, he had a pretty decent, closing ratio. But we couldn't figure out why the phone calls just wasn't converting, and then we figured it out.
That is a classic example of internal marketing and why it's so important with company culture.
That's amazing.
It can destroy. It doesn't. So really putting focus on your internal marketing protects, it's insurance for the advertising dollars that you spend. It protects the investment you're making in your external marketing dollars. So let's talk about a little bit about external. I don't say as much about that because it's more obvious in terms of, what are we doing to get the message out in terms of paid advertising, social media, whatever your visibility strategies are. And to me, your visibility strategy has a lot more chance of being aligned if our internal marketing is on point. But it's important that you have not just internal marketing and referral sources. I mean, if you want to grow and you want to scale beyond any particular limit, your marketing is going to have to be external. You're going to have to be visible, and you're going to have to be very clear about who you serve and make sure you're being found where those people are hanging out. And part of the external marketing is also affiliate partnerships, having colleagues, networking, but having people who have assembled your ideal target market for alternate purposes that complement but don't compete with yours. And I'll give an example. A chiropractor might create affiliate partnerships with yoga studios or athletic organizations or acupuncturists.
A massage therapist.
Massage therapists, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you along those same lines, Jen. So let's say, would you say that for this external marketing component to work, do you think there's got to be some kind of skin in the game, or it doesn't really matter?
Tell me more when you say skin in the game.
So, so you just gave a great example of a chiropractor. And I happen to know a chiropractor who's a client of mine who we created a marketing campaign for, and we tied his services with a massage therapist that's like 2 blocks down. And that worked like gangbusters. We did some Facebook ads, and that ran for like 6-7 months, and they love it, and they got a plethora of people from it. But they both had skin in the game. It's like they both invested into this plan. So do you think that's a key component? Or is it just a handshake and like, yep, let's have this happen?
I do think for it to be optimal, that it does make an incredible difference to be mutually beneficial and for both parties to be invested in the endeavor of supporting each other. It also, you have to have a level playing field in the sense that one person can't have an audience of 5 and the other person has an audience of 500, because the payoff or the benefit to one party is skewed over the other. So I do think you need to choose those things with intention. And I think that partnerships, I think that, as I described it, an affiliate partnership is the operative word. It implies that there's an inherent exchange between both parties being willing to do some of the heavy lifting or talk to their people about the other person. I have a chiropractor who has an energy healer and a massage therapist in her office, and they all actively work to recruit their clients to extend to the other services, because their common goal is holistic well-being and health and happiness. And they all share that common goal. They share that common audience, and each of their elements complements that goal, and they don't compete. One doesn't take something away from the other, but they're all actively engaged in talking about the other person's business. So for it to function optimally, first, you have to be aligned. Second, you have to all be, in my opinion, trained to have these conversations, which we're going to talk about next, money conversations. You need to be, you need to not be bashful about self-promotion or promotion of the others, and being able to help people understand why it's a benefit to them. So you got to be verbal, and everybody has to be committed to doing internal marketing to make it work.
Excellent. Wow. That's an awesome example.
And as you can see, all these elements do tie together, as we talked about in your March episode. They are synergistic. They can function independently, but they're designed to feed off of each other or be fueled by one another to make a very well-oiled machine.
Yeah. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying our end of quarter episode. Jen and I will be right with you in a few minutes. While I have your attention though, it's very important that you understand that everything that we go over when it comes to setting up your business in the right way starts with having a website that works. What does your online presence look like right now? If you don't know, I will invite you to head over to my website, lbmsllc.com. On the homepage, you'll see a button that says Online Presence Report. Click on that button, request your free online presence report, and that's going to put you in a position to understand what's going on with your business from a digital marketing standpoint. That's going to help you then follow through with everything that Jen and I are talking about. So with that, I'm going to bring you back to the show. Well, that's awesome, Jen. Whew. I'm like sitting at the edge of my seat thinking about money conversations now, because I'm like, if that was the marketing side.
Which goes hand in hand, because if you do all this marketing and you bring the right fit people to the table, your next element is you have to convert them. You have to get them to say yes. And one big kind of misnomer is they're not saying yes to you. They're saying yes to themselves. You're simply the vehicle by which they're going to get what they want. But your job isn't to get them to say yes to you. It's to get them to say yes to themselves. So we have to enroll them in a bigger vision for whatever it is you provide, whether it's services or widgets or products or whatever. Why is it that what you provide is going to make them better, them happier, and give them what they inherently want? So
So
this next,
let me bring up a very controversial topic as we're talking about money conversations. I was always taught, and I'm curious about your take on this. I was always taught that it's a numbers game. You know, is that BS or you know, what's your take on it?
well, I think as with anything, you're going to get an answer from me, and you can find a lot of other answers from other people. And I think what the key is I don't know that it's about right or wrong. It's about finding the perspective that feels most aligned for you. My personal take on this, and I think you and I have had these conversations many times over the years. I'm a fan of quality experiences over quantity because I do feel like it yields a better bottom line on the long game. There's an
Right.
element of long game, short game. If you're playing the short game, it is about the numbers. You do need to convert the numbers. The problem with focusing only on the short game is it's a high rate of churn. I like to focus on both, but I put a greater focus on long game because long game, again, is going to come back to this internal marketing component where when we bring the right fit people to the table and we serve them, when we serve hard, we can sell easy. So when we serve them, then they bring their friends. We have this unpaid sales force again. Then instead of having people, all of our focus on bringing them in the door, serving them and letting them walk back out the back door, we close the back door and we reduce our churn and we play the long game and we serve them hard so we can sell them easy. And then we continue to serve them and we invite them to bring other people to be served, which lowers the pressure on our marketing because we're using that internal marketing component. So if we only focus on numbers, then you have this, you're only focused on your external marketing, you're bringing in the people, and then you have a certain amount of exit. And so there's always this pressure on bringing more leads in. I like to play that long game and close that back door. And it becomes more about quality over quantity, knowing that the quality will bring the quantity in on its own. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to I'm going to reel this into my world from a digital marketing perspective. Short game versus long game. So the short game is something like a pay-per-click advertising campaign. Long game is the SEO, local SEO, however you want to SEO. Typically, the people that you have coming in from a pay-per-click advertising campaign are less qualified than the people that you come in. Once it's working, once it's all hitting on all cylinders and you're on the first page of Google and all that stuff, those people who come in from an SEO perspective are usually a lot better. So I always give the example of a microwave versus a conventional oven. You know, you can heat up this meat in a microwave, but if you heat it up in a conventional oven, doesn't it taste better? It usually does.
Doesn't it keep the heat longer? Do you not notice when you cook something on the stove or in the oven, it stays hot longer? I don't know what it is. It might melt your face hot coming out of the microwave, but it won't retain the heat as long. It won't retain
the heat as long. So it's the same thing with SEO versus PPC. So it's just like this whole long game, short game thing. So I can relate to it. So I just wanted to bring it into a digital perspective.
Absolutely. And I think that, we also want to think about the quality of leads that are coming through and how it translates to money conversations. It makes them so much easier because they're warmed up. They're a warmer, they're a warmer element. And I think, again, first you have to have a good mindset. You have to know that you're the best one to serve them and that you're going to provide them with exactly what they need. And you're going to have to drive the traffic to you before we can even have a money conversation. But I actually, of all the elements, I probably put the most attention on this money conversation element because everything up to this point is to get you the leads. But if you can't talk about other people's money, if you can't embrace sales as service, then you're not going to have a business for long. So I would say of all the elements that I talk about, this is the one that I think is the most important to have well in hand because it's the place where we make the investment in advertising or other efforts, and those efforts begin to pay off. It's where we turn leads into clients, customers, friends for life. And it's where we get to stay in our zone of genius. It's where we get to serve and do the thing that we have been called on the planet to do. So this is the pivotal point. It's the turning point where all of our other efforts pay off and we actually get to do the thing we're here to do. Because if you can't talk about other people's money and you can't embrace sales, then you're not going to have the business. And this is something I'm really known very well for. And I won't go too deep into that. And I won't go too deep into this element because there's a lot of moving parts around it. I have an entire program around this element. Mm-hmm. It's an integral part of the business atlas. And in my opinion, you don't have a business without it. But I'm going to talk a little high level here because I think it's important for people to understand the why. Right. And the fact that your buyers, unless you have these conversations, they can't buy from you. Unless you have a really good element for sales in your business, they can't, unless there's a really great gate, they can't walk through it. They have to be able to cross over this threshold. And I often tell people that the biggest part about sales is your mindset and you having high value for the product that you offer and the service that you offer. And I kind of talk about, this in the case of so many people hate sales more than any other part of their business because it's hard to talk about people's money, right? None of us want to be sleazy, pushy salespeople. And if anybody gives us an ounce of pushback, we lean out instead of leaning in because we are so afraid of selling to people because it gets this negative connotation.
Yeah. I still have a little bit of that. I mean, you've cured me, but I still have a little bit, full disclosure.
I mean, I think we all do. Even me, there's times when I kind of like, get a little anxious about it. But here's the easiest thing about it. You have to enroll you in you first. You cannot enroll anyone else in anything else unless you enroll you in you. If you first don't believe with everything in your being that what you offer is great, then you can't go any further. And I want to give an example. I want you to think about if sales were your lover, what kind of letter would it write to you? And I'm going to tell you what kind of letter sales would write to most of you. It would say something like this: I love you so much. And I just want to serve you. And I want to provide you with this vehicle to have everything you want out of this life and to make this difference that your heart is called to make. But when you say my name, you cringe. When I offer to help you, you shy away, you lean back. I don't know how to help you. You won't let me help you. How does that feel?
I've never heard that. That's awesome. That's yeah. If you hear that, you'll be like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I should be helping this.
Right. Like, why am I resisting the thing that has the power to change the entire landscape of my business and the lives of everyone I have the power to serve? So if sales were your lover and it wrote you a letter, that's how it would sound.
That's funny.
I would even take that so far as to say, sales would also say, I offer you the chance to help others through me. And when you lean out, it hurts me when you pull away. Like, you don't talk to me. You ignore me until you need me. And then you expect me to show up and support you without fail. I need to feel you love me to keep doing this. I mean, but that's what sales as your lover is saying. And you treat it like it's some dirty, sleazy mistress and you don't want anything to do with it most of the time. And then you expect it to show up and do its job. And then you know what actually happens? We blame the marketer. We blame the marketer because they didn't bring us the leads or the leads aren't converting. Well, it's not the marketer's problem. The leads showed up. The problem is you. You're not engaging in your sales process with love. You're engaging in it with a cringe.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true, Jen. So many of my customers have a conversion problem. They don't have a lead flow problem. They have a conversion problem. And it's tough because, it's hard for me to help them with that because, that's not what we do. Our zone of genius is bringing people to you not closing them for you. So,
and their zone of genius is serving the people and doing the thing that they advertise for. And then there's this gap in between, which is your money conversations and your sales mastery. And another little important thing that I think is really important for people to understand is that without this element, you're not making the money that you are fully capable of making. And, in some cases, that just turns into a really expensive hobby.
So now that you're talking about this, let's talk about goals. I mean, I'm sure when January 2022 hit, you had some goals, or maybe hopefully before that. If you've been listening to this podcast, you've been doing your goals for 2022 from October, November. Anywho, but if you're a new listener and you don't know my process, you probably thought about it in January, right? We're in June now. We're in the second quarter. What does that look like? What do your conversions look like? How can someone like Jennifer help you improve on your conversions with these money conversations? So these are things that you have to look at. And if you go to the sheet, like I said, we're going to put the link there on the show notes. If you're driving, don't do it now, obviously. But but if just make sure that you download that and think about, hey, where am I with money conversations or conversions? How many leads have I gotten in the last, say, 180 days now? Or if you just want to go with chunks at a time and do just the last 90 days, that's fine. And how many of them have converted? That's the ratio that you're looking to improve. Where are you with all of that, right? I mean, would that be a good plan, Jen?
Absolutely. And I'm going to take this one step further and say, this is this is where you and I's sweet spots kind of come in tandem and like overlap a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it's a good time to take a look at your marketing plan. It's always a good time to take a look at your marketing plan and reverse engineer based on the money you want to make this year and the service that you offer and the price point at which you offer it. How many people do I need to get in front of to make those conversions? And Frank, I know that you offer consulting services where people can spend a day with you or a half day with you and can really dive into this marketing strategy where we find out exactly what those numbers are. And then we craft a plan to get them in front of those numbers. And then I would say taking that, the next step is evaluate yourself on where am I in my sales process? How good is my sales process? The only way you can actually know that is if you are tracking numbers, which we are going to talk about in later quarterly episodes of this, when we get to the part where we talk about your mechanisms and means and your numbers in your measuring. We're going to talk about the numbers you should be measuring, but you only know if your sales process is good as if you've actually been tracking it. It is not a gut thing. You need to actually know your numbers. And if you don't know those, it's time to put a system in place to track the leads that are coming in, the leads that are actually making it to a conversation, and those that are actually making it to a conversation that are converting to a sale. And we let the data tell the story, not from a place of shame or judgment, from a place of that data tells you where in this wheel of elements, where in your marketing message you need to tweak. We do not throw spaghetti at the wall when tweaking our marketing message. We let the data tell the story. We let the numbers guide us on where to make the adjustments. And if you aren't tracking numbers, you have no way to diagnose, which means you are throwing spaghetti at the wall, which gets very messy.
I'm going to give you a sad reality, Jen. In October of this year, I would be in business 15 years. In those almost 15 years, I can count with one hand how many of my customers actually knew their numbers.
It is a painful statistic that I am also aware of, because all of the people I serve through teaching and training them on setting up that sales system, tracking their numbers and having their conversations, nobody's tracking stats. You know why? Because it's the biggest freaking shame shovel there is. To look
you think that's the reason?
I do. I think entrepreneurs and business owners are notorious for not looking at their numbers in all aspects of their business. Not a judgment, just an observation. And in my experience, the reason that it's not done is because A, they're afraid of what they're going to see, and B, they don't like what they see. And instead of using it as a diagnostic tool to know exactly where to turn the screw, we ignore it and pray it'll get better. And a lot of businesses are doing fine. They're doing okay. They're keep doing the thing. But do you know how much better you could do if we knew exactly where to turn the screw and to tighten that up?
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's
And I create a tool. I create a scorecard for people that tells you where to track these numbers. And I actually teach them. It's not a lot of numbers, but I also teach them what these numbers mean and what those numbers translate to in their marketing. And so that they know whether they need to work on the internal or is this an internal or an external marketing problem? We diagnose, and then we prescribe the solution.
Yeah. Well, this has all been awesome, Jen. I really, really, really thank you for doing this. I think this has been a lesson for me. And I know the audience is thinking about that too. So we talked about marketing and money conversations. Let's set up the next quarter. Like what are we gonna first of all, what they should do the exercise, right?
Well, I would say a little recap on the homework, if you will. Maybe don't view it as homework, but view it as opportunity in your business. We've provided a toolkit for you. You can take a look at the Back to the Future exercise,
right?
Which is a pun on the Back to the Future movies, which dates me. And evaluate the quarter. If you want to do it for the year to date, fine, since we're at the halfway point. But minimally evaluate the quarter, what worked, what didn't. If you could do anything over, what would it be? And then take that learning and translate it to, here are the non-negotiable new standards I'm going to carry forward into my next quarter. Look at that wheel of elements and rate yourself. Don't look at the one you did last quarter. Rate yourself fresh, then compare.
For this
and
quarter.
Look at these elements. How am I doing this quarter in these elements? And then really look at internal versus external marketing and how is that showing up for you? Look at your company culture. And then think about your money conversations and your conversions. And remember, if you serve hard, you can sell easy. It doesn't have to be a job. Sales is service. If you have a process that you can lean on, it makes it so much easier. But if you don't have any process at all, then it might be time to think about what could that look like and how can I maximize my marketing dollars by getting more conversions? Let's protect the investment.
100%. I like that. Okay, well, there you go. Those are your.
And then next, you asked me next time. So next quarter, we are going to unpack mechanisms and means and momentum. And mechanisms and means is kind of another way of saying systems and processes. I really like to not blame a person in a business, blame a system that's either non-existent or not functioning optimally. So we'll talk about the importance of mechanisms and means or systems and processes, and also momentum. Being able to, now that we've put some of these elements in place, maintain an element of momentum and forward motion and staying in the game instead of like slacking off or coasting, because the laws of physics tell us that coasting means you're going downhill.
And that's what we have to look forward to in September, folks. Let's do that. But in the meantime, do your homework. Not homework, but the suggested
look for
assignment.
Your opportunities.
Yes, your opportunities. There you go. She says it a lot better than me. Look for your opportunities. Download the sheet if you have it already from the last time. This is your opportunity to download it now. And that's about it for this episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. My name is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Jennifer Flynn, the Balance Maven. Take care and bye for now. Until next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.